Hello, this is Legomygun, and in today's video we answer the question, can you beat Fallout 4 as Robinhood? No. No, you cannot beat Fallout 4 as Robinhood. At least, not without a mod. So the mod I'll be using today is the L-String Fallout Bow, available on Nexus mods. This will enable me to roam the wastes as the nobleman. We start at the character creator. I tried to go for the rugged Russell Crowe look from his Robin Hood movie. I think I did a pretty good job with the options provided. You can judge for yourself. Anyways, with my handsome gentleman done, I went to the living room and watched the salesman stroll over from the neighbor's house. I greeted him and started picking stats. I decided to go with a 7 in strength to launch arrows more efficiently, a 4 in perception because Robin Hood knows his way around a lock, 3 in charisma and intelligence for the lone wanderer and gun nut perk, and then finally a 5 in luck for the idiot savant perk. After that, it was a full-on sprint to the vault, where I got frozen in an uncomfortable position, looked into the eyes of a murderer, and then opened the freezer. I then used the close the door tactic on the roaches, grabbed the pimp boy, and proceeded to try to get crushed by the vault door, but failed. I then made it outside and looted the nearby trailer for all of its contents, then ran to Sanctuary to talk to Codsworth. After our brief conversation, I put another point in luck and started to I can't say words. Anyways, I scrapped a whole bunch of stuff and started building Fence World. I proceeded to build somewhere between 1 and 1 trillion fences in order to boost my levels. Prepare myself for the journey ahead. Once I ran out of wood, I placed wire fences over and over again to continue to level me up. By the time I was done, I had reached level 8. I then decided to put a point into the Lone Wanderer and Toughness perks, exited the menu and made my way to Red Rocket. On arrival, I greeted the dog and went inside for some ammo and my weapon. I got to test it out on some row rats as soon as I got it, and it was pretty effective. After my successful test, it was on to Concord to rescue the Minutemen, as I believe Robinhood would have most likely sided with them. The bow did good damage right off the bat to the raiders outside, but it was pretty difficult to aim, especially at moving targets. That's when VATS came into play. VATS was kinda my savior through this run. I handled the raiders outside with ease and then went inside to finish off the rest. As most of these raiders are still pretty low level and my bow does 30 damage per shot, I finished off the rest pretty easily. I then went in to have my conversation with Preston, and Sturgis showed off his killer workout during the discussion. Back outside, I proceeded to kill the remainder of the raiders and prepared for the fight with the Deathclaw. The fight went pretty well at first. Well, at least for me anyways. Not so much the raiders. I was able to hit most of my shots, but I ended up running out of ammo before the fight was over, and Preston had to assist me. After that victory, I headed out to Trudy's Diner to help kill some thugs. Once the thugs were dealt with, I traded with Trudy just to get some caps, and then headed back to Sanctuary to make some upgrades to my bow, and make some more ammo. At my current level, I'm only able to get the basic upgrades due to my perk limits. I'm also only able to craft the most basic arrows. Later on in the game, I'll have higher levels that'll grant me better perks to make better ammo. Anyways, after the upgrades, I headed back to Trudy's Diner and then decided to make my way to Diamond. On my way there, I decided to stop by Corvega, as the Minutemen would have me go there anyways. The raiders there didn't fare too well to my stellar aim. It was also inside the building that I found the perfect item to complete my Robin Hood look. A quick arrow to the eye socket fixed that problem, and I took the hood and donned it for my character. After that success, I found and then killed Jared with a critical shot. Once he was dead, I headed outside and continued my journey. On my way, I decided to stop by the police station for some XP and an upgrade. As the mod has placed different upgraded bows along the natural story path, so after shooting and mostly missing the Goals Assaultic Dance, I then talked to him to gain access to the police station, then went inside to acquire my upgrades. Inside, I had a new bow and several new arrows, including some explosive ones. Once I had my bow and arrows, I headed back to Red Rocket to select an ammo type and make an upgrade to the bow. One of the arrow types I acquired at the station was boarhead arrows, which do bleeding damage and do some great damage overall. Once the bow was upgraded, I spoke to Preston and got things rolling on his end. I then spoke to Sturgis and fixed things around Sanctuary to complete his quest for some easy XP. After that, it was back into the wild to progress the story. On my way to Park Street Station, I stopped by to kill a couple of raiders and got a perfect shot of sending one through a window. I moved on to discover Green Tech and got this cool shot on a suicide. After that, it was into the subway for Park Street Station. The triggermen weren't really too much trouble. As long as I stayed close to cover, I could avoid their rapid machine gun fire. Once I dealt with the ones outside, I headed into the vault to assault Dino and save Nick. Dino took several shots to kill. I finished him off, landing one straight in his forehead. I then saved Nick and dealt with Skinny in his game. I decided to convince Starla to leave and end things peacefully, as I think Robinhood would have done this. After that, I was out of the station and onward to Diamond City. In Diamond City, I put my sneaky skills to good use to steal the sentient cereal box's key from the mayor. Then did my interview with Nick and got my final bow upgrade, along with several new arrows and a cigar to show the goodest of boys. I then sent Dogmeek on his way and went back to upgrade and rename my new bow. After the upgrade, it was on to complete more Minutemen quests. On the way to complete my first one, I once again shot a nuke out of a super mutant's hand, which was kinda cool. I then discovered the bluff, and the settlers told me to take care of some raiders. So, I went and I took care of them. It was then back to Preston for more work, and he sent me to Oberlin Station. And since I was already out this far, I decided to go ahead and head to Fort Hagen to kill Kellogg. So after arriving and briefly waiting for Dogmeat, I told him to go home and went inside. Nearly all the synths inside could be taken out in a single headshot. The only thing I was kinda worried about were the turrets down below, because the arrows have dropped, but they turned out not to be an issue. As for Kellogg, I just decided to take some jet and load in some explosive arrows. The fight did not last long, as he could only handle 2 of those bad boys. After I blew his legs off, I then took the chip out of his head and headed outside to watch the Predwin arrive. I then headed downtown to take care of some raiders. Went inside, took care of said raiders. I then headed off to get my reward for my good deed just done, and headed down to Good Neighbor to do some Inception. I also totally forgot to mention this, but I did go and talk to Nick. I just didn't include it. I then entered the den, talked to the good doctor, entered the brain world, and found out that the Institute has been using illegal TP hacks on the server. Outraged, I immediately made my way toward Virgil to find a way into the Institute. On the way out there, I got a long-range snipe and decided to add it to the highlight reel. I then decided to add killing cultists worshipping cancer onto the highlight reel, and the fight with my Deathclaw outside of Virgil's cave. I first hit him with several explosive arrows, and then jumped down to finish him off with a boar's head. After I defeated the mighty beast, I tried to tempt another mighty beast with a large piece of meat, to see if he would give me the plans now. This did not work, so I went to Green Tech and took on the gunners. Most of them were pretty easy to take down. I was able to withstand a direct rocket from the Rocket Man by the bridge, and then proceed to take him out. I then went upstairs to handle the Courser, and I took him out the same way I took out Kellogg, although it took several more explosive arrows to finish him off. After I had killed him and all the hostages, I ripped the chip out of his head and left to go see the railroad. I decided to see how they would handle 2 explosive arrows, And turns out that's all it takes to wipe out everyone standing in the entrance. I then headed inside to finish off the rest with my regular arrows, hack onto Tinker's Tom tinkering computer, and decode the chip. After the chip was decoded, I went back and told Virgil that I had made some new friends on my adventures, and headed back to Sanctuary. Once I arrived, I talked to Preston, and then talked to Sturgis, proceeded to upgrade what armor I could, and then built the teleporter. I then hopped onto the beam emitter, and got beamed into the Institute. Once inside, I got right to work. Step 1 was an elevator ride. Step 2 was to pretend to listen to a crazy man. Step 3 was to put an arrow in the crazy man's head. Step 5 was to repeat the process outside. Step 6, well, let's say Step 6 didn't go as planned at first. I got eliminated in record time. Step 6 Part 2 went much better, as I snuck my way up and then used my jet and explosive arrows to kill most of the synths right off the bat. I then finished the rest off pretty easily and got a really cool triple kill for the reel. I then used the same TP hack to get in, to get out, and return to Preston. I then proceeded to do more settlement quests, which means I build a beacon here, and save a settler there, and then the fun one, storm the castle. The Mirelurks were annoying if you hit the shell, but overall not bad. It was during this battle that I also got to use a nuke arrow for the first time. I launched one at the Queen and it did massive damage, but also sent several Minutemen flying. Oops. Anyways, after the Queen died, I continued recruiting settlements for Preston, which was mostly boring. Anyone who's done this before knows that it's a lot of clearing out and then building beacons. However, the two things that were cool was, first, I absolutely demolished an Alpha Deathclaw with 2 nuke arrows, and then got to fight a behemoth. After I had helped a couple settlements, I was back to the castle to deal with an angry robot, which I did without too much trouble. Sarge really never could take a hit. After I detonated him, I then armed some Minutemen outside and placed some defenses. The fight for the castle didn't last too long, and we eventually killed all the metal men. The only thing that was annoying was the blinding blue lasers that they would shoot straight at my face when I was trying to hit them. Anyways, after the battle, Sturgis told me that he got away inside the Institute, so I made my way down there immediately, entered the facility, teleported Preston and gang in, and got to work. And by got to work, I mean eliminating synth after synth after synth after synth after synth after gorilla after legendary synth, and then to the reactor. Inside the reactor, I ended some turrets immediately, killed another synth, and literally took the head clean off of a scientist. I then finished the last legendary synth off with a multi-shot arrow, grabbed his password, opened the reactor, placed the bomb, and teleported to safety. I told the kid that he could come along with me, as I believe Robinhood would have done this, the good Samaritan that he is. I then TP'd out of there for the last time to the mighty button, gave it a mighty bonk, and beat Fallout 4 as Robinhood. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want. Please like the video and comment down below on what you'd like to see in the future. This is Legomygun, signing off.